conspiracy led to a religious revival in America, which saw the rise of the Sons of Jacob. At a surface level, they seem like any other modern-day conservative, quasi-Christian group demanding a return to their imagined traditional values. The Sons of Jacob, however, are much better funded, organized, and, due to the looming apocalypse, have a lot of members across the country. We also see that they have members who hold high ranks in the federal government. Nevertheless, as the crisis continued, the Sons of Jacob became increasingly radicalized and violent, culminating in the President's Day Massacre, where the President, the entire line of succession, all members of Congress, and Supreme Court are killed by them, but they blame it on Islamic terrorists. Afterwards, a new provisional government made up of civil servants, some of who are allied with the Sons of Jacob, take over. First off, how convenient every leader in the federal government was in the same place at the same time for this decapitation strike to work. Second, for the Sons of Jacob to succeed in seizing control, their infiltration of the federal bureaucracy, military, intelligence community, etc. would have to be near complete, and yet no one got elected to public office? There are Congress members today who think a baby-eating satanic cult controls the world, and you're telling me not one member of the Sons of Jacob got elected to high office? Really? Come on. And yet, while it seems implausible, I can't dismiss it completely because, unfortunately, we in America live in a post-Capitol insurrection world. The people who attempted to overturn the results of the 2020 election weren't just alt-right trolls. They were lawyers, CEOs, civil servants, cops, active duty soldiers, or veterans. Many were middle or upper middle class or had access to resources most Americans don't have. Hell, one rioter flew to DC on a freaking private jet. So just imagine if those traitors were as organized and funded like the Sons of Jacob. So if you asked me before January 6, 2021, whether the Sons of Jacob's coup was plausible, I would probably say no. But ask me that now, I think it's plausible enough that it's really scary. Okay, let's get back to the fake America and its problems. Shortly after the coup, the new government declares martial law, and you start seeing the precursors of the Guardians appear on American streets. Women's rights, which were already on a shaky foundation to begin with, are soon stripped completely away. Women are prevented from working or even holding wealth, and since so much of people's finances are digitized, the government is easily able to deny women access to their own bank accounts. There are protests against the new regime, but these are violently put down. Presumably this crackdown led to the Civil War that the Handmaid's Tale refers to, one where America is almost completely driven off the continental United States, while the provisional government evolves into the infamous Gilead. While there is a lot of yada-yadaing about the Civil War, to be fair, The Handmaid's Tale isn't military SF. It's a dystopia where women are treated as breeding stock. That being said, that doesn't mean we can't speculate on what this Civil War would be like. It's important to point out this Second American Civil War would not be anything like the first one when the slavers rebelled. It's doubtful that the infertility crisis will have clearly defined regional sides like how the first Civil War had the free and slave states. Ideology will determine which side your average person is on. Pro or anti-Gilead will divide entire communities or even families. The American military itself would be divided. Looking back at this map of Gilead, we can assume the Anchorage-based America and the rebel-controlled West Coast could not exist without the Pacific Fleet being on the rump U.S. side. Nevertheless, given how the provisional government was able to enforce martial law and ultimately conquer the continental U.S., it would appear that much of the Army and the various National Guards were allied to the Sons of Jacob. As for the other branches, I'm not so sure, but given how influential evangelical Christians are among the Air Force, we can proudly assume they sided with the Sons of Jacob, and it's anyone's guess what would happen to the thousands of American soldiers stationed overseas. We can also assume there would be private militias that would either ally themselves with America or Gilead, or even just become another faction in the Civil War. The Southern Baptist rebels mentioned in the novel might not take orders from Anchorage, and may be like Rojava in our timeline Syrian Civil War. And much like that war, the Second American Civil War is going to be a bloody fight. We could see all the horrors of modern warfare, such as tank battles across the Midwest and drone strikes on American cities. More low-tech militias would rely on IEDs, car bombs, and even suicide bombers. We may even see the use of chemical and biological weapons, or even nuclear weapons, as one of the Gilead maps does suggest at least one was used in California, although I'm not sure who was responsible for that. Presumably, America's infrastructure would be completely destroyed by the fighting, which would mean food and fuel could not reach the cities, forcing people to abandon them. The dikes around New Orleans could be destroyed by Gilead after they were denied the city, flooding the port. The Hoover Dam may also have been destroyed, which could have devastated the entire American Southwest. In fact, one wonders if the colonies were created in part because of a scorched earth policy enacted by American forces as they were driven west by Gilead. Thinking about this makes me wonder if the refugees we see in Canada are downplayed. A fight on the scale the show suggests would create a refugee crisis even worse than the one created by our timeline's Syrian civil war. Non-Americans would be the first to flee the country, likely right after the coup, as they would not want to take their chances under the new regime. Once the Civil War erupts, however, the number of people crossing the border would only increase as Americans flee the fighting and societal breakdown. Canada and Mexico would take most of the refugees, as they are the only ones who share a land border with America, but you may see Americans along the Gulf Coast make for the Caribbean nations on whatever boats they can find. The Anchorage government may also try to evacuate as many people as they could to Alaska, Hawaii, or other regions they controlled, but they would probably prioritize the families of soldiers and people who could help with the war effort. Also, this would be a civil war that would have massive ramifications for the rest of the world. I mean, the American economy is the largest in the world, and it will now be cut off from the global economy. Meanwhile, the US dollar would lose a lot of value, which is bad.
Tonight is a celebration of Gilead and of what we have achieved.
We only wanted to make the world better.
Better.
Better never means better for everyone.